All right, happy election day, everybody. I do kind of like the way we do things here in my neck of the woods. It's old school. It's old school here. We kids are off from school, and there's plenty of places to vote because all the schools you can vote there. Um, this is funny. I want to. Obviously, we're going to talk about some of the issues in regards to the election today on the program. A couple stories from my youth. A couple stories from my youth when it comes to elections. I remember two elections that I was involved with back when I was, one when I was in elementary school, and one when I was in middle school. And I have to say, everything I needed to learn about politics I learned in the sixth grade, but we'll get into that in a bit. I remember we had an election. It was part of our Cub Scouts, part of the Cub Scouts, and we were having our various different vote for president, and you had the various different dens. Remember that Cub Scouts den, and you had to pick your candidate, and your candidate had to run against the other dens, and you had to say why your candidate was better. You know who our candidate was? The Fonz. The Fonz. I remember this stuff vividly, for crying out loud. Yeah. I think it ended up, I don't remember. I think it ended in a tie, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we had the old school, voting booths where you got to pull the lever and all that jazz, and we got to vote on that. But anyway, my real firsthand experience with really how politics works was in sixth grade. And every quarter, our school was part of our, what they called, civics, old school, social studies. They called social studies class. We had a class election. President, vice president, treasurer. You had to run for all of these positions here. Again, I learned a lot. I was running for president against a young lady I thought was kind of cute. But anyway, neither here nor there. I lost. The election. And I know I've told this story before on the program. The young lady that I was running against was promising our class that we'd be going to Disney World on a school trip over spring break. Wow. That's pretty awesome. I couldn't compete with that. Now, mind you, I didn't grow up in Orlando. I didn't grow up in Tampa. I grew up in Albany, New York. This is a public school. Farnsworth Middle School, Guilderland, New York. Yeah. You think we're going on a field trip to Disney World? Wasn't going to happen. But it certainly sounded pretty good. And it sounded good to my classmates because that won it. I was being realistic. I was looking to put together like a softball tournament in the spring and do things that were actually plausible. But I learned my lesson. In politics right then and there. Promise bullshit. Anyway. All right. Let's get into some of the stories of the day. This I found fascinating. The IRS unable to process tax returns, shredding documents, just shredding documents because they can't even get to them. I think they answered maybe 12% of the incoming phone calls last year. But over the past month, they've been burning the midnight oil. Why? Well, guess what? They are sending out messages, mail, email, you name it, to people to file. Make sure that they file their 2021 tax return quickly because there's a lot of free money out there that you could probably get. Yeah. Again, they're sending these out to people that, quite frankly, don't even pay taxes. Yeah. The benefits here: child tax credit, recovery rebate credit, and the earned income tax credit. All three benefits, the IRS reminds, were expanded under last year's American Rescue Plan Act. Yes, that was the one that gave $1,400 out to lots of people. Expanded the child tax credit to $3,000 or $3,600 per child, depending on the age, and made it fully refundable, meaning that even if you have zero tax liability, you get it anyway. Yeah, so the IRS is making sure that they can get that message out. This, again, if you're not familiar with the concept of walking around money, it's an old school tactic. It's old school tactic still used. I recently watched, I think I mentioned on the program's great documentary on Teddy Roosevelt, and when he was running for governor of New York, he worried about the money, the walking around money that was going out to get people out to the polls. That was a concern also. Kennedy, Nixon. Again, you pay people to come out to vote. It's walking around money. It's the same concept here. Oh, look at free money. Come vote for us. Yeah. I want to talk about this too. This is everywhere right now, and quite honestly, it is distressing. I have to say, you get a lot, and I'm sorry, it's you far left whack jobs that keep pushing this idea that the republic is at risk. Yeah, the president of the United States, dark forces. You think that crew on January 6th, the guy looking like the lead singer of Jamiroquai back from the 1990s, there with the horn hat, you think that they are actually a threat to this country? Come on, man. Come on. Don Quixote, going after windmills, for crying out loud. Give me a break. Was it awful? Was it terrible? Yeah, just like the Black Lives Matters rally. But there's this narrative, they got to push it out there that somehow our country is at risk. People questioning elections. Gee, I mean, why wouldn't they? Yeah, you haven't seen this trend going back to Bush, Gore with hanging chads. Hell, I mentioned Nixon versus Kennedy. Let's go back there. Nixon had a beef, man. He had a beef. There were some shenanigans taking place in Illinois, and he let it go. Were there some irregularities and issues and question marks in regards to the last election? Yeah. And I've been here on the program. Man, I get eviscerated, people, by this. It's over with, okay? It's over with. Biden won. It's over with. Done. I bear it no mind. I don't know why people still getting bent out of shape over this, but it's both sides. It's both sides. You had Barry Diller. Barry Diller, big Democrat, lib, CEO guy. He was on CNBC yesterday, and he hates Donald Trump. I mean, he despises Donald Trump. And he's talking about, case, I can't even mention that guy's name. And he was, talking about this election and talking about character. And he was playing politician. He wasn't calling or picking either side. People of character in there. And he started mentioning elections. And actually, Joe Kernan brought up the fact, well, what about Stacey Abrams? Stacey Abrams, she supposedly, had an election stolen against her in Georgia, right? Well, what about Hillary Clinton? Hillary Clinton, 2016, up and down, Russia collusion. $100,000 in Facebook ads, I guess got Donald, won Donald Trump the election at that point in time. And again, go back to Bush v. Gore. I mean, and Gore, he had the right to challenge what was going on in the state of Florida. He lost. And I'll give Gore credit. After he lost, he walked away. He walked away and he said, you know what? I'm going to make myself a multimillionaire a zillion times over on this green thing. And he did. That racket. You know, so this is the reality right now. You people out there, I think that there's some sort of threat to what's going on. You know what the real threat is? It's you people on the left. You don't like this country's institutions. You want to tear down the Supreme Court when you don't like a case. Case doesn't go your way and what you believe in. You want to turn it more into a political body based upon who's in office. I don't think you fully appreciate or understand what the founding fathers were trying to do. There's a piece today by Gerald Baker in the Wall Street Journal today, Gerald Baker. And he says, this letter, the party is in the grip of an ideology that believes the entire American constitutional construct is illegitimate, that the Constitution itself was founded to preserve a hideous racial tyranny, and therefore that all those quaint ideas enumerated in it that have become synonymous with America's Republican democracy, equal rights and protection, freedom of speech, are all merely instruments of repression. Goes on. Again, these are things that we've talked about here on the program. Biden thinks that he can issue laws by edict. Yeah, there's a student loan thing. Yeah, it passed by a couple votes. Dude, nobody voted on it, man. It wasn't passed by Congress. You declared it, you decreed it. Democratic lawmakers tried to enact a bill that would have eliminated states' constitutionally guaranteed right to determine the conduct of elections. Large number of Democrats want to reduce the Supreme Court to a politically directed arm of the elected branches of government by ensuring it has a majority of justices ideologically aligned with the political leadership. They want to eliminate the protections the Constitution and longstanding precedent have established for the careful checks on majority power in institutions such as the Electoral College and the Senate. Institutions, by the way, that progressives now frequently denounce as undemocratic. That's one of the things that drives me absolutely berserk as well. A complete lack of understanding at how the country was put together. Why should Wyoming have 2 senators and New York have 2? It's not fair. Dude, that's why you have the House and you have more representatives there. Just because a state has a smaller population doesn't mean it should be voted out. Democracy, pure democracy, is flippin' dangerous, man. Pure democracy is freaking scary. Mob rule with no checks and balances? No rule of law? Are you out of your mind? Think about it for a second. And again, these people believe it. It's democratic. That's democratic. The word democracy does not appear one time in our Constitution. Not once. Again. Democrats eagerly supported the protests associated with the Black Lives Matters movement in 2020. Many of them signally failed to condemn the widespread violence, those protests, rhetorical, financial support for the perpetrator. You know all this. You know all this. This is what the left is for at this point in time. I don't get it. I'm gonna delve into something that I avoid here on the program. I kind of play it the way Neil Bortz played it on his program when it came to the topic of abortion. I avoid it like the plague. avoid it like the plague. But I'm gonna talk a little bit about it today because I, I I can't get my arms around people at this point in time where this is their end all be all issue. How could it be? I can't. I fully can't get my arms around. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why, and I'm not going to even tell you what side I come down on this. Okay, you can guess if you want, but I'm gonna play both sides here. All right, you have something. You have something. There's close to, it's just a fact. There's close to 1 million abortions that take place in the United States every single year. Every single year. If you look up the effectiveness of birth control, if taken and used properly, 99% effective. If you want to be extra protective, guess what? Use a condom and use birth control, and I think you're safe there. I think you're pretty safe. I think that's going to be more difficult, most certainly more difficult to get pregnant than it is to break into Nancy Pelosi's house. All right. So you've got something that again, in my opinion, it doesn't matter what side. If you think abortion should be legal, illegal, can we all agree? Is this not something that we want to minimize? Is it not something that we want to minimize? It's kind of, look at it like back surgery, okay? You don't want to have to go in and get back surgery. You want to do everything and anything you can. Physical therapy, all to strengthen your back. Trust me, I got a lot of friends that happen to be surgeons. You don't want to if you don't have to. We should try to make it as bringing the numbers down. Now, granted, you take a look at the numbers, the amount of abortions per 1,000 women has dropped considerably, but the numbers are still very, very high. 1 million a year. We lost 1 million people during COVID. Get your arms around the concept. Okay. And I guess listen, I'm not deaf. Okay. Someone can bring up points of rape and this thing. And I get that. Okay. I'm compassionate to these arguments. I understand that fully. I get it. But can you not agree that, you know what? We should actually try to minimize this. Maybe it wouldn't even be an issue if there wasn't so many of them. Now, I'll play at the other side of the coin as well. You got the pro-life groups out there. In particular, I'm Catholic Church. This is part of the belief system, and I get that too. But what's the Catholic Church doing? I don't see the Catholic Church putting up orphanages and volunteering to set up systems to take care of these kids that are illegitimate. They used to. You go to Florence, Italy. There's this beautiful building in the middle of Florence, and it's the Ospedale di Ognissanti, and it was an orphanage where middle-aged Renaissance. Illegitimate kids, mothers couldn't take care of their kids. They would drop them off. They had like a little baby door where you could put the baby through in this side, so you wouldn't be seen, and they would take care and they would raise child. This Alexander Hamilton, the orphan. They're not doing anything. They certainly collect a hell of a lot of money from me every single year, and they're not cheap to go to their colleges and universities. I don't know. Could be me, call me crazy. Maybe if they weren't spending so much money in pedophile issues, maybe they could set something up. I'm just saying. So I think everybody has to contribute in order to bring these numbers down. And I think that's first and foremost. But my overall point is how is this your most important issue? I get advertisements from both sides of the aisle on a regular basis here on my email box, and the wives of Democratic politicians, and they're holding their daughter up, and women's issues and rights, and over their body have never been under such attack. Oh, come on. Come on. I'm sorry. There's an old Chris Rock bit. There's an old Chris Rock bit. He's got a daughter. Your job is to keep your daughter off the pole. Okay, we all know what that is. You're growing up in that type of a house. You should probably teach your daughter properly and how to protect yourself. I mean, have that conversation so it doesn't happen. God forbid, there's an instance of some sort of sexual violence. I understand it. Okay. This is where compromise can be made. This is where you can have some sort of compromise. But you're taking a look around you. You're seeing over 100,000 people die a year of drug overdoses, millions of people crossing the border, crime in our streets. People can't afford Thanksgiving this year. I got a few retailers out there that are actually rolling back their prices. I mentioned that Walmart, and I think there's a couple. There's Adele, what is it called? Adel, that are rolling back their prices from a couple years ago, trying to help people out. These are real issues. This is really what's important right now. Not to say that the abortion issue isn't an important topic. But if it's your most important thing, I'm sorry. You've got to get your priorities straight. You really do. You're lost. This is when it comes to election. How do I get this across? And I know I've kind of alluded to this a little bit, talked a little bit. I like to share with everybody my thoughts and feelings, as a father. That's my most important job. And, I advise people, I advise young couples, clients of mine, thinking about starting a family. And I don't care. Okay. I talk to them like the old guy. I said, you've got to be willing to commit. Okay. Because your life, as you know it, once you have children, if you're doing it the right way, your life's over. Okay. Start a new life. It's completely different. But again, it's in essence, you're doing things, you're supporting them, everything changes. And it's not bad. It's a wonderful, it's a period of time that, again, I'm running low on it. I'm on the tail end at this point in time. And it's something that I loved. But you're constantly questioning yourself too, because you're always trying to make the right decision. You're always trying to parent the right way, always trying to give the right lessons. And, you grab all the time from the mistakes that you had made in your life. And I try to get across to my kids. I said, I'm the freaking instruction manual to life. I've mentioned this before. There was this television show back in the 1980s. It was called The Greatest American Hero. And this guy found this, some space aliens dropped off this super suit, and they gave him superpowers, could fly, but he lost the instruction manual. So he'd be flying, be crashing into things, and trying to figure out how the suit actually worked. And I try to explain to my kids, I said, I'm your instruction manual. You come to me with your questions. I'm going to point you in the right direction. I don't want you. Okay. I want you to learn. I want you to absorb and learn from the mistakes that I made. I'll tell you what's right and what's wrong and help point you in the right direction. That's what I'm here for. But I've noticed something. I don't know. You can, email me, talk to me about this. I'm a little lost too. I find myself, and I kind of wish, my dad was still around, but I'm talking, kind of wish, of course I wish my father was still around. Yeah. But I talked to my mom about it a little bit. I don't know how to parent through this violence. I don't. The things that I see every single day, the things that my kids see every day. It affects me. It affects me immensely. I know it affects them. I know it does. How could it not? How can it not? If you're a compassionate person, you're seeing the news, you're seeing the type of violence, the shootings, everything, every day. How can it not affect you? How can this not be one of the most important issues? And we knew it was going to get worse after this defund the police and all these riots that we allowed to take place and letting bad guys out of jail. We knew this was going to happen. And now look at where we are. I've mentioned this. I'm honest here. Listen. Yeah, at times I consider. I want the hell out of here. I don't want to see it anymore. When I go on vacation in the summertime and we go to Greece or where we get out of here, I don't see it. I can pick up a European newspaper, foreign newspaper, various different places around the globe. They don't have the type of violence that we have. How is this not a more important issue facing the country than some of this other crap that they're throwing at you? Well, I mean, what do we pay taxes for? I saw the numbers. I said the city of New York, it costs as much to run the city of New York as it does the entire state of Florida. Now, the city of New York has about 8 million people. I think the state of Florida has 22 million people. Think about that for a second. And go into the city now and watch The Walking Dead. Watch The Walking Dead walk around. I had a friend of mine I was talking to, had to go in for work, was down on 8th Avenue and didn't really recognize it, said he was going to walk to the next place he had to go to. He was scared out of his mind. Middle of the day. He's like, I actually pretended like I was high. I started talking to myself. It's not supposed to be this way. It's not. You don't want a bifurcated America where you're going to have rich people who can afford to, basically wall themselves off from all of that. Don't want that. And that's what we're becoming. You mean to tell me that that's not more important? I don't know. One more thing was a story today in the Wall Street Journal. GOP game plan, get federal spending under control. We'll see. People, could be me calling me crazy. I am, I know everybody's going to be having, if there is this red wave, oh, it's a great day to be a Republican. Really, be careful what you wish for. Let's see if you get anything done. And I know you're going to be limited. You're not going to have the White House, but you better be able to step up to the plate. I most certainly would consider not raising the debt ceiling. You need to get spending under control. We need to have cuts. This nonsense needs to stop at some point in time. Their suggestion in this article is go to Joe Biden, reach out to Joe Biden and be like, Joe, you want to be Barack Obama or you want to be Bill Clinton? Talk about the things that Bill Clinton accomplished after Republicans took over the House, took over Congress. And a lot was accomplished. Obama, again, first 2 years, it was drop the mic, pretty much. They lost in 2010. He pretty much dropped the mic and that was it. Kind of coasted the rest of the way, but he could. The amount of left-wing things that were passed and pushed through. I mean, you think about it. From taking over student loans, a HAMP program, the auto, bailing out the automakers, Obamacare, right on down the list. Right on down the list. And again, Joe Biden passed quite a bit too. First couple years. Is he just going to, drop the mic and that's it? And we'll just have nothing going on for the next couple of years, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if that's the case and you're Congress and you control Congress and you control appropriations, well, guess what? You're going to have to step up to the plate. You're going to have to step in front of the line of fire, the inevitable line of mass media. They're shutting down the government. Only essential workers. Well, that's the only workers I want to have. I see, again, I remind everybody, here at Markowski Investments and the Watchdog on Wall Street radio show, we only have essential workers. If you're not essential, door. Anyway, I got to get through some business, quick hits and some business stories that I wanted to talk about. No surprise here. I got the list here of state tax winners and losers. Okay. The worst, you guessed it. It's either New York or New Jersey. Ding, ding. New Jersey wins. They're ranked 50th. New York, 49. California, 48. Connecticut, 47. New Jersey, 11.5% top rate on corporations, highest in the nation. 8.84 in California, but California hits residents with a 13.3% rate on top rate on income, compared to 10.75 in Jersey. New York's top rate is 10.9. Again, none of the best four tax states levy a personal state income tax: Wyoming, South Dakota, Alaska, Florida. It's no surprise here on the states that are doing well and whatnot. It really isn't. Again, which is what again, going back to the Constitution, going back to what the founders wanted, states can be little laboratories. Unfortunately, because of the power of Congress and the power of in my humble opinion, the illegal power, Congress and the president, to give handouts and giveaways to businesses. You can help out some of these states that suck as far as the business climate is concerned. And so we got the CHIPS Act. And this is why Micron is building in Syracuse, New York, and not Miami. The only reason why Micron is up in, I would love to interview that CEO. Okay? I would love to. Chuck Schumer's got his own vision of Luca Brasi, but I said, hey, listen, we're giving this money for this CHIPS Act. It better be in New York. Made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Here you go. Here's billions of dollars. And here you go. Billions of dollars that you're not going to have to pay in taxes on top of that. The state of New York gave him as well. Anyway, story on COVID here. COVID's drag on the workforce proves persistent. It sets us back. Again, this is the type of bullshit journalism. This is Wall Street Journal. I give credit where credit is due. They've had some great pieces over the past few months, and then they throw out drivel like this, where they got to find a couple people, anecdotal people here and there, that woe is me, I can't work. And then they interview these people and they take pictures of these people. And, I'm looking at it this way. I said a lot of people out there are milking this thing. They are. Listen, you go claim, disability. You claim disability because you've got long COVID. You don't feel right. Your brain's getting a little bit foggy. How many people out there from time to time, get distracted? Brain gets a little foggy. That's a freaking disability now. You can qualify for 60% of your salary at your job and go home and not have to work. You can get put on permanent disability for stuff like this. Shortness of breath. Again, I'm looking at these numbers. These people are going to come back. Hey, people back. People they're interviewing here. They're on long-term disability. They're getting food stamps. Why work? Why work? I don't have to. I got I can afford my Netflix. I see stories like this, and it's just sad. It really is. And again, I understand people that are truly disabled and need help. Again, that's what social safety nets are for. But for stuff like this, come on, give me a break. Cars, used car prices collapsed at the most since the Lehman meltdown. Again, these auto loans gone through the roof. The Manheim Used Vehicle Value Index for October declined to 200, or about 10.6%. That's the worst decline since December 2008. Again, and auto loan delinquencies rise as loan accommodation programs end. So you went out and bought a car on stimulus money. Well, guess what? Yeah, can't afford to pay it anymore. Eventually it gets repossessed. It gets put back on the market. And again, this is deflationary as far as cars are concerned. And it, quite frankly, it needs to happen. Cars got so freaking expensive. So bloody expensive. I looked again today. Same exact car. In essence, 3 years younger, that I got for my wife. SUV, lease payment for, in essence, I mean, there's a couple things in the new car that's a little bit better, but it's essentially the same thing. Get you from point A to point B. Same engine, same everything. Lease payment double today than it was 3 years ago. Nah, I'll buy it out at the end of the lease. A lot of news out there about all the hoity-toity celebrities that have decided to leave Twitter because of Elon Musk. Who cares? I don't. Who follows these people and actually gives a crap? I mean, I am following some guy that's actually pithy, smart, like Steve Martin or something like that. But these models, cares what the hell they say. Anyway, on the other side, they're not telling you this. Twitter's daily user growth hit all-time highs in Musk's first week. Just saying. Oh, I know, stories out there. Advertisers are pulling their bucks. They're not going to continue to pull their bucks. They're going to get back in if they see these types of numbers. A couple China stories here. And we've talked about the Fugazi numbers out of China. In particular GDP and whatever they're pumping out there. And, they're talking about there's 4.9, 4.6 GDP growth. Yeah. China's natural gas consumption falling for the first time in 2 decades. Now you tell me a country's energy consumption starts falling off a cliff. Do you think that they're really kicking it when it comes to business? No. And amid this continual zero COVID crap that they're putting out there, again, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with Xi Jinping at all. I'm with his political prowess, right? Okay, he's in control, but he's going to drive the country into the ground. Apple's looking for now. This enough's enough. We're going to have to start setting up production in other places. And again, this other side of it could be a little bit on the frightening side and what China might do militarily. They're not known to do things like this, but push comes to shove and things aren't going well, and all of the policies, your command and control crap ain't working. I don't know, invade Taiwan. It's out there. Got to pay attention to it. Another crypto war taking place. Binance and FTX's Sam Bankman-Fried, and there was someone saying someone's lying and someone can't get their money out of this exchange, and certain cryptos are collapsing. Holy shit. Yeah, crypto world is like, it's worse than the freaking Kardashians, for crying out loud. You want to have at it. I don't care. I know you might be a true believer in the entire thing. Just be prepared to lose it all. As long as you know well that you could lose it all, then fine. Do what you want. Last but not least here today, consumer confidence is near its lowest in a decade. How do you return the party in power based upon the decisions that they have made, the policies they've put forward. The country is feeling this bad. The consumer is feeling this bad. I don't get it. Okay, because of abortion? Anyway, have a great day, everybody. Remember, everybody. No, I'm not going to tell you to go out and vote. I'm going to tell you to go out and vote only if you know what the hell you're talking about and you actually pay attention. So you're here and you've been paying attention. You may know a thing or two. And I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm telling you to use your mind. I think that, again, I'm not a member of any party. I look at each individual candidate. And I'd like to thank everybody who doesn't have a clue, doesn't pay attention. It's not important to you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for not voting. You are doing the country a solid by not going and voting. Just saying. Have a great day, buddy. Watchdog on wallstreet.com. Watchdog on wallstreet.com. We'll see you.